Power without spirit is shallow and weak. Hi, I'm Reverend Andrew Bozeman, and this is On the Wings of Your Mind. Today is Election Day. Now, for the past few months, we've been bombarded with ads and text and emails and posters and speeches from the candidates for all kinds of seats of power telling us that informing officers are now doing, and how they will fix it if we would put them in office instead. All of them are shouting, "Give me the power, give me the power, and I will make it right." Yeah, but the truth of the matter is that power without spirit is shallow and weak. We hear those promises every election period, and time after time those promises end up being forgotten because they can't really be kept, at least not to the extent that the promises are made. It's basic politics. When one side pushes to make something happen, the other side pushes to block it. So when we vote, it's usually we're voting on the hope that maybe there will be some incremental effect, some incremental change that our vote's going to bring about. I remember a quote that I used to hear when I was a lot younger, when I was in my 20s, that was attributed to Voltaire, the 18th century French writer, historian, and philosopher. He supposedly said, "Democracy is a very bad form of government, but I ask you never to forget, all the others are so much worse." So, as we mature, we realize that when it comes down to government, the best we can hope for is that they will do something we can live with temporarily. But what about our day-to-day existence? What about our day-to-day lives? Are we locked into the edicts of government when it comes to how we live our personal lives? Are we hampered by government when it comes to achieving our dreams and our goals? Or do we have a greater say in what happens in our lives that we've been led to believe? Do we actually have the personal power over our lives to make our lives the way we want? Well, the answer is yes. Ever since 1978, with the groundbreaking book Creative Visualization by Shakti Gawain, there's been a flood, hundreds of books revealing that we do have the power to create our own reality. We do have the power within ourselves to heal ourselves. We do have the power within ourselves to attract what we desire in our lives. We have the power to create, the power to channel the creative power of the universe to create the life that we really want to live. We do have that power. So over the past 60 years, our consciousness has been expanding and accepting the belief that we do have some power, we do have some say in how our lives go. We do have that power. And we do have the power to affect our lives that in ways that we didn't have back in the 50s and beyond that. We didn't have that. So yes, the power is there. Yes, we can change the way our lives go. But with that, there is still a lot of frustration out there when it comes to expressing our personal power. There's a lot of frustration to getting that power to work for us. You know, the trouble with all those books is that they fail to let us know one very important factor, and that is when we are expressing that power according to them, we're totally relying on our own individual power, our own personal power. So while we do find some level of success in changing our lives by practicing the techniques that those books bring to us through their philosophies of personal power, we eventually discover that mostly those changes don't always happen. And the reason that those changes don't always happen as we look back on it is that we had to be able to achieve some level of peace when we were looking forward and declaring our right to those kinds of changes. We had to be in a state of peace. Of course, we don't understand that until we look back and we see it happening. But there had to be some state of peace within us when we made those declarations, those affirmations, those visualizations. There had to be a state of peace. The thing is, peace is very fleeting. And that peace, if it's not there, it can detrimentally affect our power to bring about change. Because as individuals, we cannot find and maintain a state of peace, not on this physical plane, not in the way life tears at us, not at the way life comes at us. And so when we're not in a state of peace, but we're in a state of unfocused turmoil, in a state of stress, then our power is compromised. It can no longer be relied upon to bring about the changes, the effects that we want. Because instead, and when we're in a state of stress, instead of our power base, our personal power, being a magnet that is yielding to the law of translation and bringing us positive effects, what is actually happening is when we're in a state of stress, then that attracting power becomes a negative attracting power. So rather than bringing us more well-being, it actually brings us more trouble, more negativity. Power without spirit is shallow and weak. Please click on the thumbs up button, and if you haven't already done so, please choose to subscribe. Remember, I'd love to hear from you. So if you are wanting to share your questions, your answers, your thoughts, your inquiries, your suggestions, please use the chat box on the right side of the screen or the comment section below the video. I'd love to hear from you, and we'll respond if you suggest or send any comments. And remember, this ministry is for you. It's for you and your empowerment. So you can support this ministry by going to our website at bozemandevelopment.com and choosing the Please Donate button, or you can use my Cash App link at $Andre Amron. Thank you very much for your support. So what can we do to make our lives work the way we want to make them work? Well, first of all, we must gain some perspective and realizing that there is not one level of reality in our lives. No, it's multi-leveled. And the part of our lives that government affects is at a different level than what goes on in our day-to-day lives. So in a world where there are millions of people who are trying to live their lives, it becomes incumbent upon each and every one of us to understand and chart our own course through this vast ocean of life. But we must understand that we are not alone. We must understand we are not alone. That is, we are not individually isolated and alone. And so if we can understand that, even in the midst of seemingly negative conditions, it becomes possible to live a life that is satisfying and even happy. It's possible to create a bubble of contentment in which your life works the way you want your life to work. But the first step is to accept and understand that the source of all power is infinite intelligence. Not you, not what's inside, not you. It is not the government. It is not the person who signs your paychecks. It is not anybody or anything that you can see or touch. It is infinite in intelligence. Infinite intelligence. The creative force that is over, under, around, and through everything that exists. Infinite intelligence is not some far away force or energy that is unattainable. Infinite intelligence is right here, right now, inside each and every one of us, around each and every one of us, closer to us than breathing. You've heard that, closer to you than breathing, nearer than hands and feet. But the challenge is understanding how to access that, how to wrap ourselves in that power that is always there but seems to be elusive when it comes to trying to use it. One of the recent books in this self-empowerment movement is entitled Be Your Future Self Now by a psychologist named Benjamin Hardy. Be Your Future Self Now. Now, he works on the premise that if you boldly declare what your life is going to be in future increments, that is 6 months, 1 year, 5 year, 10 year, and then mentally fully immerse yourself in experiencing those future conditions, then they will eventually happen. And I must admit, Dr. Hardy is right, up to a point. But what he's saying is not new. Every self-empowerment technique written over the last 60 years says basically the same thing. Each and every one of us has this power. Now, they say the same thing basically, but they each have their own little derivation of how to apply that, etc. So they're all telling us the truth. But remember, it is only part of the truth. That's the part that they forget to mention. It's only part of the truth. The Bible's been telling us that for hundreds of years. The Bible in the book of Matthew, chapter 7, verses 7 and 8 says, "Ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and it will be opened to you. For everyone who asks receives, and he who seeks finds, and to him who knocks it will be opened." Those words have been around for centuries, but only a tiny number of people can actually testify to the validity of those words. Why? Why is there this seemingly disconnect? Well, the disconnect is up here in our minds. We are so locked into the so-called physical reality of our bodies and our physical lives that we cannot see in front of us. We cannot see what's actually there. We're so caught up in the pressures of getting to work on time or paying the rent or filling up the gas tank that we fail to realize that there is a higher dimension out there that has a much greater effect on what is going on in our physical lives than we can possibly realize. So how do we access this? Well, the key is to separate from it. Separate from the physical reality first. Separate from it. We can't see the higher dimensions of our being if we're totally caught up in what's going on down here around us on the ground. As the saying goes, when you're up to your neck in alligators, it's hard to remember you were there to clean the swamp. So there's a story. There's a story that I've heard that clearly illustrates what I'm talking about. A family was on a car trip in the winter, and they got caught in a surprise snowstorm, and they had an accident in the snow. Now, the son who was driving the car was injured, but they were seemingly on a deserted road, and there was no way to get help. Then, through the blowing snow, they saw a lone house a short distance away. So they carried the young man through the snow to the house, and they beseeched the old woman who lived there to let them in so that they could take care of him and get him out of the cold. Now, this was before the time of cell phones. So they asked her if they could use her phone to call for help. But the lines were down. So there was no way to contact help for medical assistance. The grandmother, the family's grandmother, then asked the lady who lived in the house if she could use her closet. She went inside the closet, closed the door, and inside the dark closet with the door closed, away from the dire circumstances outside that door, the old woman started praying for help. She did that because she knew the truth of the Bible passage in the book of Matthew, chapter 6, verse 6. He says, but when you pray, go into your room, and when you have shut your door, pray to your Father who is in the secret place, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you openly. Your Father who sees in secret will reward you openly. Within an hour, there came a knock at the door. When the door was opened, there stood the local community doctor. It seems it was on his way from the home from the hospital, local hospital, when he had the urge to come and check on the woman who had lived in that house to make sure she was okay. Let me repeat that. The doctor was on his way home from the local hospital when he had the irresistible urge to check on the house where this young man who was in desperate need of medical attention was laying on the couch. He was called there, not by some technological device, not by some cell phone, but through the power that is always there, the power that we always have access to, infinite intelligence. But we cannot access infinite intelligence if we're in the middle of turmoil. We can't do that. We can't do it if we're unfocused, if we're in stress, in the middle of our physical lives. We must separate from the physical. We must separate from the turmoil. We must separate from the disease. We must take time to shut it out and go into that deep, quiet place where the power lives. We must heed the words of Matthew 6, verse 6. But when you pray, go into your room, and when you have shut your door, pray to your Father who is in the secret place, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you openly. All those self-help books are right. You do have the power to create your life in the way you envision it. The power that is there for you to use whenever you want. But you are like a cell phone running on battery power. There's only so far you can get without plugging into the source of the power and recharging. Power without spirit is shallow and weak. But power with spirit, power through spirit, is infinite, strong, and inexhaustible. The power is in you, but it is not yours. The power flows through you, but it is not you. Get quiet. Turn your back on the turmoil. Turn your back on the crisis. Open yourself to the truth and accept that you are an individualized expression of infinite intelligence. Open yourself, open your mind to the guidance and the power that has created you. Open yourself and your imagination and allow yourself to be fed by the loving peace of spirit. The loving peace of spirit. Bring you the images of your perfect life. It's going to allow you to tune in to the masterful programming that will bring you into the life that belongs to you. Bring you into the life that you were born to have and to enjoy. Bring you into the life that you deserve. Go to the closet. You must go to the closet to pray or to meditate or to contemplate. But you got to go to the closet. You got to get away from it. You got to separate yourself. Yes. And while you're there, express gratitude. Be grateful for all that you have received and all that you will receive. There is so much to be grateful for. Express that gratitude. It opens you up to receive more. Do this every day in the morning before you get into the helter-skelter of life. Do it every night when you come home after that helter-skelter to bring yourself down into a state of peace, into a state of clarity, into a state of focus. Do this every day. When you feel the pressures of life coming at you and pulling at you, step back. Don't allow it to take you out of focus. Step back. Give yourself a minute or two to recenter, to reconnect, to be in touch with the power that is guiding you. Step back. Don't let life tear at you. Don't let life distract you. Step back. Remove yourself from the craziness, even if it's only for a few seconds, to allow that reconnection to be made. because that's where the power is. Infinite intelligence. Infinite intelligence. That is the power that will serve you without fail. Align with it. Connect with it. More and more and more each day. Connect with it. Make it a habit of aligning with it. Make it a habit of connecting with it. Making a habit of acknowledging the presence of spirit, of infinite intelligence. Remember, you are not a freestanding, disconnected individual. You are part of the greater whole. You are an expression of infinite intelligence. You are an individualized expression of infinite intelligence. Yes, each and every one of you is connected. We are all connected. Yes, understand that. Yes, accept that. Yes, you are being served and protected by infinite intelligence. And the more you accept that, the more you integrate that truth into your consciousness, then the more you will be able to experience the truth of the words spoken in the book of Matthew, verses 7 and 8. And it says, ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and it will be open to you. For everyone who asks receives, and he who seeks finds, and to him that knocks it will be opened. For everyone who asks receives. For everyone who asks receives. For everyone who asks receives. And when you open to the power of the divine, that's what's going to happen for you. Let's close with prayer. Thank you, infinite intelligence. Thank you for bringing all of us together in this life so that we may become spiritual warriors and join in the work we have come here to do. Thank you, infinite intelligence, for bringing us into this space of awareness and a deeper understanding of ourselves and our relationship to life and infinite intelligence. Thank you for showing us who we really are. We open our minds and hearts to the truth of our being. We are the children of God. We are individualized expressions of infinite intelligence. And because we are part of the greater whole, we're beginning to understand our value to the continuity of life on this planet. As we become channels of your power, infinite intelligence, we can feel your presence within ourselves and within our lives more and more. We know that as we feel your presence within our lives every day, we will rise, because we are no longer cut off from you by being immersed in the darkness of fear, anger, and the pain of unforgiveness. So we're now restoring our connection through the grace of forgiveness, knowing that as we learn to forgive ourselves for the pain we have caused to ourselves, and as we learn to forgive those who have inflicted pain upon us, our connections will grow stronger, and our lives will grow happier and healthier and more prosperous. And for this we are truly grateful. As above, so below. As within, so without. And so it is. Amen. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please do so by clicking on the logo to the lower right-hand corner of the screen. And please remember to click on the thumbs up button. Remember, this ministry is for you. It is for your empowerment. And so you can continue to support this ministry by going to my website at bozemandevelopment.com, bozemandevelopment.com, and choosing Please Donate. Or you can choose to use my Cash App at $Andre Amron. I really appreciate your support. And so I look forward to seeing you again next week. Thank you very much for watching. Remember, I am Reverend Andrew Bozeman, and this is on The Wings of Your Mind.